Hello, welcome to the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. I can't take you fucking seriously with those sunglasses. I am
Right, mate.
Jay, joined by Festive Troy, apparently. Um, we're here for another retro review. Today we're doing TNA Genesis 2006. Is this the first TNA show you've ever seen, Troy? From beginning to end?
Uh, yeah. I
Actually, no, we
think
did. We watched Hard to Kill a couple of
I.
years
I
ago,
feel no. I was going to say I feel like we watched like recent Impact stuff,
but
but as
the
far as
good old
TNA
days.
goes, yeah. As far as like old TNA goes, yeah. I've never watched anything the whole way through.
What do you think?
Had its moments.
It did have its moments. I thought it was an okay show. It
It
was
was
a
an
bit
okay
weird at
show.
times,
It
but
was
it was okay.
fucking weird, but yeah, it
Yeah,
was. We'll get into it because
I'll, I'll
I've got a lot of questions.
well, I'll hopefully be able to kind of fill in some of the blanks for you because obviously I was watching it this time. Um, so let's start talking about the opening video because that was a work of art. With all the NASA imagery for some reason.
Because
Um,
yeah, that's synonymous with
just
Genesis.
because they're gonna put Kurt Angle on the moon. Um, Anyway, so we open up with our first match, which was a fucking fever dream in itself. Um, which was a 3-on-2 handicap match. The team of Kazarian, Maverick Matt, and Johnny Devine.
Right.
Um,
Who the fuck are these people? I know who
well,
Kazarian
you
is.
know who Kazarian is. He's Frankie
Yeah.
Kazarian. Just that
Yeah. Yeah.
he's just a spooky goth boy in this
Right.
thing. Um, Johnny Devine was X Division guy. He was fine. Um, and Maverick Matt is Shawn Michaels' cousin.
Fuck off.
Yep. He went by,
No.
so he used to go by the name Michael Shane in TNA before this, and he was over as all fuck because everyone was like, "It's Shawn Michaels' cousin." He was all right wrestling as well. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't good either, but he wasn't terrible. Um,
Just about got by.
but basically they got cease and desisted, so they had to change his name to Matt Bentley.
Cease and
And then
desist. For what?
yeah, because it was too close to Shawn Michaels, and because he looked like Shawn Michaels and was presented like Shawn Michaels.
Oh, all right, fine, fine.
His finish is still the fucking super kick in this match. Like, um, but yeah, they were part of a faction. At this point in time, TNA were trying to get this faction over.
Yeah. How'd that work
Um,
out for them?
well, we'll get to that in a moment. They wrestled the team of the formerly the James Gang, formerly the New Age Outlaws, the Voodoo Kin Mafia, because VKM, BG, and Kip James. Um,
Yeah,
and
so I didn't get that until they literally mentioned it. I was like,
Vince McMahon.
that's
So
terrible.
bear in mind at this point in time in WWE was when DX had just reformed.
Okay.
So their whole gimmick was, well, didn't ask us because they were signed to another company.
Right. When you
Yeah,
say reformed, it was literally just Triple H and
it was
Shawn
when it was
Michaels.
it was when it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and it was fucking shite, and they were feuding
Right.
with Vince.
Right.
Um, it was terrible. But anyway, this basically they come out and absolutely fucking squash these three young guys who they were trying to get over
Oh, it was dreadful.
in about
How,
4 minutes.
three minutes, 39 seconds to be precise.
Fucking hell.
It's
Um,
just awful.
yeah,
So how long had Voodoo Kin Mafia been in Impact at this point? Because this feels kind
they
of
they've been in Impact for quite some time.
oh, but a lot of this was
Um,
just off the back of DX reforming, which is why they were
yeah,
quite
so
vocal.
there was the DX reunion, and um there was something else that happened where Paul Heyman was managing the Dudleys, I think,
Okay,
who at this point were actually ended up actually in TNA. So this angle had been going on for a fucking long time, is
right.
what I'm trying to say. And he said like he basically put a challenge out that was it the Dudleys or it doesn't matter. Either way, it was a team in who were in WWE on WWE ECW to be precise, and he
Right.
said he had an open challenge for any team who wrestles in 4 sides, 6 sides, or 8 sides. So basically, Voodoo King Mafia were like, we'll do that. We'll take that
Mm.
challenge. This was when TNA were like getting, as I said, at this point they were kind of like on a bit of a hot streak as far
Uh,
as like the just signed Kurt Angle, they signed
uh,
Christie in about a year before.
uh,
They had a lot of eyes on the product,
uh,
and they were trying to kind of like advertise themselves as like competition to WWE. Um,
mm.
no, never got anywhere near that. Like
No.
never. It wasn't like AEW was today, where they started to feel viable for a while, and they still do. But
Mm.
there was still a great deal of distance between TNA and WWE, is what I'm saying, compared to like
Mm.
WWE and AEW now. Um,
Interesting you say that because on commentary, I think I don't remember what point they mentioned it, but they said, "Oh, like TNA Impact at this point was only 5 years old, so still relatively young."
yeah,
And it's interesting you say that because AEW now are at about
they've
5 years, aren't they?
just done the fifth
Yeah,
anniversary of Double or Nothing this weekend, just gone.
it's interesting to see this like TNA Impact 5 years into it and AEW, and I know wrestling's changed quite a bit since then, but yeah, quite
Yeah.
interesting to analyze that.
Yeah, I feel like because of obviously the time as well, TNA were trying more to fill the void that was left by WCW,
Yeah.
as opposed to like where AEW try to kind of like offer an alternative.
Mm,
They
mm.
they were literally like to the point where it was Jeff Jarrett who got fired from WWE, who was like, I'm gonna basically make WCW two
Yeah,
and
yeah,
hope
yeah.
what happens. But that being said, it, and it shows it makes me laugh when you see people complaining about like the two companies taking shots at each other these days because it's like fucking hell, look at this.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, uh, Kip James hits a pedigree on Matt Bentley, and he went to go for Sweet Chin Music, and then just went nah, and
Nah.
hit the one and only, which he doesn't do anymore, which makes me sad. Um, and then BG James, Road Dogg cut a promo on Vince McMahon, Paul Levesque, and Michael Hickenbottom, um, and said that the ground war will start this Thursday night, which I can't remember what happened.
I was going to
I'm
say, what was the fallout off the back of that?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't anything of like any
Any real
note,
note?
if I'm being honest. Um, I'm in fact, I'm pretty sure their contracts came up not that long into 2007.
Oh, did
This
they
was
go
November.
back?
I don't think they did immediately. I'm trying to think now
Okay.
because they went back. They wrestled at Mania 30, and they had
That
that
was
little.
ages after, though, wasn't it?
That was 7 years after, and they
Was
had
that the
like
Sting match?
no, that was the year after. So they had like a little run in WWE around 2013.
Oh, I remember. Was that with the whole authority angle? But when they sort of
Yeah,
semi part of it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they didn't they come back as well before that and win the tag titles off the Usos or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
so
remember
they
now.
were they kept coming back like as on Legends deal. So I don't think it was that long after this, but I could be wrong.
Mm.
I'll have to double check that one. Um, but from what I remember, the Voodoo King Mafia pretty much fell on its ass. Um, after this match, Don West and Mike Tenay, great commentary booth. Um,
Yeah.
they're talking through the card, and you see Kazarian and Maverick Matt dragging Johnny Devine back to the ring. Johnny Devine's got like a towel over his head. Um, they then take the towel off, and this is the return of Raven. So Raven had been away for about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And like last time you saw him, I think he dropped the TNA title or something along those lines. Anyway, either way, he was
Mm.
like he'd not been seen for a while. He came back with a new look with like bleach blonde hair, slick back, wearing a white
Like the
suit with like a
contacts, the
leather
suit.
like
Yeah.
yeah a weird leather mask over at the bottom half of his face.
It looked like a corset, but he was just wearing it around his neck rather than
Yeah,
around
and
his waist.
you could tell he hated the idea of wearing it as soon as
Yeah,
he got to the fucking
yeah. Instant
um
regret.
yeah, and he's revealed as the leader of this group that became called Serotonin. Um, he on the following Impact, he actually renamed them Kazarian to just Kaz, which kind of stuck
Yeah,
with him throughout most of
stuck for a
his
while. Yeah.
TNA run. Johnny Devine was called something else that I can't remember, and Matt Bentley ended up being called Martyr. Um,
Marta. Okay.
yeah. Um,
I'm just bringing it up to see what he,
or I could be wrong, could be the other way around. Um,
just to see what he got renamed as.
Let me double check.
Where are we? It's part of the X Cup. Was he Havoc?
Havoc, that's the one. I knew it
Yeah.
was something super generic and shit. Um, but yeah, they beat him up with Singapore Canes, and it they basically just shown off Divine's like the welt. This storyline ended up with essentially them trying to make Kazarian like a single star. If I'm not mistaken, Raven left halfway through like the storyline, and
All
it
right.
just kind of died on its ass, like a lot of things in TNA. Um, next
Excellent.
up, yeah, next up, speaking of things that died on their ass, we had the Naturals with Shane Douglas. Put a promo in the back. Uh, they were like a tag team before the Young Bucks, who were getting pushed like the Young Bucks. Um,
Mm.
and they were feuding with the Dudleys, who they beat in a tables match and had sent off to Japan. And basically, they were like, they're not here tonight, but we're gonna beat up two of the young stars, and it's a very young Sunjay Dutt and Jay Lethal.
Yeah,
Um,
proper young. Like Sanjay Dutt's got some
and,
aggressive looking sideburns.
and a really really bad receding hairline.
Like
Um,
he was like 24, 25, but he was just
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Jay Lethal, I'm pretty sure, is like 21 here.
Mm.
Um, Sunjay looks somehow older and younger there than he does now. Um, which is insane. Yeah, this was a fun match. The finish, the finish is pretty much the only thing I note where Shane Douglas tries to get involved. Jay Lethal stops him, and then the Naturals hit the finisher and fuck it up. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's weird seeing a young Sunjay Dutt and Jay Lethal. But yeah, this was fine. There's not really much to report about here.
No, I mean, I obviously you know what Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal went on to, and like because they were quite pivotal in the X division, weren't they? Was that during this
Yeah.
time? Was that prior to this, or was that a little bit after this?
It was a little bit after this.
Right,
That was more towards like 2007, 2008 that
right.
specifically Jay Lethal.
Mm,
That was this was kind of just before Jay Lethal started doing his Black Machismo stuff.
right. Is
And
that where he really
Sunjay,
got over?
yeah,
No,
and Sunjay started doing the Guru, which was like a sort of like, well, just very stereotypical Indian Guru gimmick.
right.
Aged aged fucking terribly. Um,
It was this before or after fucking what was the absolute abomination we watched Hangover? All Wheels Wrestling.
it was. I'm pretty sure it was before that. I
Right.
think All Wheels was 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So this was
Okay.
about 6 months before that. Um, and we will never speak of All Wheels wrestling ever again.
Oh, mate, probably need to go back and watch that. I think we need to make like an annual thing just for shits and giggles.
Well, it was nice to see Schwagdy schwagging it up.
Schwagdy.
Um,
We should
yeah,
drop a link to that if we've got it up on YouTube. Drop a link to
I
that.
I'll put that as the video suggestion at the end of the YouTube video. Um, next we had Jeremy Borash interviewing LAX. Conan cuts a promo about how he's going to burn the American flag because he's Mexican and evil. Um,
Cool.
and he calls he says screw Jim Cornette, which instantly makes them the faces, and he doesn't take orders from any white boys, which yeah, again, instantly makes them the faces in my
Instant
eyes.
face.
And then we get like a nice little setup to the first title defense of the show, the X Division title.
Yep.
Um, a very, very young Chris Sabin, who's just turned
Super
heel,
young.
super young, against a very young 36-year-old Christopher Daniels.
It's in his prime, mate.
And his,
Prime.
oh, he was Christopher Daniels.
Prime Christopher Daniels.
Fallen Angels fucking killing it here, mate. Jeez.
Was this pre Curry Man? He was Curry Man,
Uh,
wasn't he?
I can neither confirm or deny whether Christopher Daniels is Curry Man.
Come
Um,
on, mate.
but
This
it
isn't
was
like
just,
this isn't like Sami Zayn and fucking El Generico,
whoa,
who
whoa.
are two different people. I know that.
It was around the same time. He'd kind of
Oh,
dip in
okay.
and out of that character, but he very
Right.
much was like, this was not long after him and AJ had like a bit of a tag team title run.
Okay.
Um, which we'll get to later. Obviously, like Chris Sabin had just turned heel after losing the X Division title, and basically that's how this feud kind of come about.
Right.
This was comfortably one of the better matches of the night. It was very,
Yeah.
very fun. Um,
Yeah.
Chris Sabin for a guy his age was obscenely good here.
Light years beyond like how old he was. Like you wouldn't
Yeah,
think he was that kind of early in his career, looking at what he was doing in this
yeah,
match. Like, and I imagine there was a lot to come off the back of this, given like what happened at the end.
yeah. So there's a lot of times where like Sabin's trying to cheat, healing it up. Daniel's obviously the veteran. He kind of like keeps sort of catching him out with like a few sort of like tricks that he's got from like being a bit more experienced. The match really kind of takes a turn where Sabin hits a hesitation drop kick, and then instead of like kind of capitalizing on it, tries to go for something else. Daniels like sits up, and Sabin goes on the outside, and then Daniels jumps onto him on the outside. Sabin ends up picking up a chair and trying to bring it into the match, which AJ Styles comes out and removes said chair. Which
More on that later.
well, yeah, which distracts Sabin. Sabin then goes for the cradle shock, and Daniels quickly reverse it into a like modified sort of like inside cradle to pick up the win.
Mm.
Again, roll out nowhere, but it's like just kind of like shows like obviously Daniels' experience compared to Sabin. Sabin goes to attack Daniels after the bell. The dad of the X Division, Jerry Lynn, comes out. Cool dad Don Crenshaw. Um, he comes out and takes his like employee badge off and just
It's
like
not fucking about.
basically what they're doing here is setting up for a match between Sabin and Jerry Lynn down the line, which, if
Ooh,
I recall, was a bit of a banger. Um,
probably need to find that.
we'll hunt that one down. It's definitely on a pay per view. Pretty sure of it. But yeah, he basically he tells Sabin to like sort of show some sportsmanship and shake hands with Daniels. Sabin does it reluctantly, and then as soon as Jerry Lynn turns his back, Sabin hits the cradle shock and fucks off, and Jerry Lynn's furious about it.
Top shit bag.
Absolute menace. We then get a paparazzi productions backstage segment. How familiar are you with paparazzi productions? I know Big Tasty has spoke about them at length multiple times.
Never. I mean, I know who both of them are. I've never heard of Paparazzi Productions.
Big Tasty spoke about this when he was talking about his favorite promos. When years ago when we started.
Mate, I don't remember last week.
That's true. Yeah, so Paparazzi Productions was basically Kevin Nash just stealing a living essentially. He was basically trying to mentor the X Division. And Alex Shelley was like his cameraman, and he just do silly bollocks like this. This is kind of what led to this is what led to like the kind of stuff like Black Machismo and Sanjay Dutt being the guru and stuff like that. Um, Also, there's a really funny video of like Kevin Nash doing a training montage where they're trying to teach him some X Division moves, and all he
Big
does is
Terror
just
Quad.
punch. No, no, all he does like they try and get him to do like put a hold on, and all he does is just punch the guy, and the guy gets down. And then he goes, "You think that's impressive? Watch this!" And he doctored the video to make it look like he was doing a moonsault. It's just absolute nonsense, but it's brilliant. In this, he's kind of given a bit of a pep talk to Austin Starr, who's sadly Austin Aries,
Yeah,
and Alex Shelley, who we like, telling them
he's
they
good.
need to win badly, and asks them to both give 90%. Uh, this comes off the back as well. It was a battle royal they had that Kevin Nash put on where the winner got $100. And
Fucking hell.
Austin Starr's asking Shelley where his $100 is. Shelley says the check's in the mail. And then they're just like throwing out random wrestlers' names for reasons. And then do a little high five. And then that like segues nicely to them coming down to the ring. Uh, Against their opponents, Ron the Truth Killings and Lance Hoyt, a little murder chick.
Little murder chick.
So, did you think when you were watching the show you'd see Lance Archer body popping?
No, absolutely fucking not.
And that's what you got. So
I
R-Truth
enjoyed it.
comes
I ain't
out.
gonna lie.
It was fun. R-Truth come
Although
out to
seeing
WWE
him with
news as
weird
well.
straight hair and not like a
Yeah,
big braided, but yeah, that was strange.
yeah. Well, his character development for me it just gets even better because not long after this, R-Truth joins WWE.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so um, Kevin Nash has his arm in a sling as well and claims he got injured defending his own X Division title in Japan 2 nights
Sure.
earlier. Kevin Nash's on commentary on this, and he's fucking brilliant. He's absolutely hilarious. Lot of lot of double teaming from Shelley and Star on Hoyt. Obviously, Hoyt's the more experienced, the inexperienced of the two, and very overzealous. And well, Truth's like the sort of veteran. Uh, as Shelley looks like he's about to kind of pick up the victory, he asks Star to bring his camera close to the ring to pick up the footage. And as he's like arguing with Star, because Star's like posing for the camera, Hoyt rolls Shelley up and gets the win. And Kevin Nash is very angry about this.
It
Yeah, this was fine.
was alright. It was a bit of fun. It was funny to see R-Truth or Ron Killings. I didn't realize he. Obviously, I
Yeah,
knew he was in Impact because he was NWA
he was
champion. What
yeah
two-time NWA
two-time
champion?
NWA champion.
Um, didn't realize he had the same music, but we spoke about it a little before when I messaged you and said, "Oh, I didn't realize he obviously owns that music." Um,
I I think
yeah,
he
it
released
was
it around
mental.
this
Like
time.
ah, it was really bizarre seeing everyone else around that match, knowing how old this thing was, seeing how old it was, but then hearing Ron Killings or R-Truth's current music and him having not aged today. It's like he'd just gone back in time.
I know, like R-Truth was probably about 36 here,
Yeah,
and Lance Archer or Lance Hoyt was like probably in his early 20s,
yeah.
as was Alex Shelley, and both are now like in their early 40s or early
Mm,
to mid 40s. So it's weird
it's
to see
mad,
for sure.
proper mad.
And then that takes us to our next match, which was Christian Cage versus AJ Styles.
Oh,
We got a nice little promo from Christian first, where father is just a cool uncle. Um, and yeah, this is cool though because like he's basically just turned heel. He's just starting to be like an absolute chicken shit heel.
okay.
Um, where like he'd lost the NWA World Title in a King of the Mountain match. Are you aware what a King of the Mountain match is, Troy?
You have explained to me what a King of the Mountain match is. It's an absolute abomination.
For those who don't know, basically you've got to pin a person to become eligible. Once you're eligible, you are able to hang the belt because it's a reverse ladder match. It's 5-person ladder match. Once someone gets pinned, they get put in a penalty box for 2 minutes. First person to hang up the belt wins. So Christian basically lost it, didn't get pinned to lose his belt, got angry about it, as you would, because it was in a King of the Mountain match and no one likes King of the Mountain matches.
Everyone was angry going into
Yeah.
that.
Um, and he's basically like threatening Jeremy Borash. Borash rolls his eyes, and then Christian's like says he's got a list of victims, and Styles is top of the list, and basically says he's going to challenge the winner of Sting and Abyss later on tonight. Um, and then we get the match. That I really like the video package leading up to this.
Yeah.
So it was they've got like a guy who's basically like low rent Morgan Freeman, and he's like he runs down all the video packages before,
Yeah.
and he's like he's telling this story, and it's cool because it shows like Christian basically had been bust open in a match against Rhino, in a barbed wire steel cage match against Rhino to boot. Um,
Mm.
and then he come out after and was like during an X Division match to upstage it, and AJ just kicked him off the apron, and that's why we got the match. And it was like, okay, yeah,
Cool.
yeah, this was cool. A lot of back and forth. AJ really holding his own, and young AJ Styles, you forget just how fucking good he was. Like he,
Mm.
AJ Styles here is like what Will Ospreay is now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's as good as Will Ospreay now because that would be ludicrous, but he's like a wrestler that everyone's kind of like, oh, have you seen this guy?
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff AJ does in this match, and I just forgot that he used to do it, like the kip up into
Mm.
the Hurricane Rana,
Yeah.
which love that.
So good. There's
And
that
also
dive he does, like that corkscrew dive, like over the
yeah,
top as well to the
a,
outside.
a false brief flop.
That's it.
And he does a really cool like a backflip into a reverse DDT, which he does
Yes.
every now and again in
Yeah.
WWE,
Every
but
now and then, but yeah.
yeah. Basically both men just kind of like reversing each other's kind of big moves. Christian keeps having an answer for the Styles clash.
Mm.
Um, and AJ's got like keeps getting out of the unprettier as well. Eventually, Christian brings in a chair because that's the recurring theme of this show. He goes to hit Christian with it. Christopher Daniels comes to return the favor, grabs the chair, but as he grabs the chair, AJ goes to like sunset flip Christian. Daniels keeps hold of it a little bit too long. Christian manages to sort of like halt the momentum and then like drop down and does like the Bulldog Bret Hart pin, and
Mm.
picks up the win. It's a really fun match. Really, really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Referee was casual as fucking this. Just shorts and a pair of Vans. I
Oh,
don't know who this guy is.
it's Slick Johnson.
Slick
Um,
Johnson. It looks like they
yeah.
just pulled a guy out of the crowd and said, "Can you ref this?"
He, mate, we've got a rich history of referees in TNA, mate. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Wait till we get to Shane Sewell on TM mate. That's all I'm saying. Um, I can't wait
Jesus.
to tell Faye about Shane Sewell. Um,
You just take so much joy out of inflicting this on us, don't you? It's
it's look, to the point where like literally Faye can't hear the word abyss without having some kind of mild PTSD from it. Rightfully so. Yeah, Slick Johnson, for those who don't know, is basically like Scar referee. He's got Vans and he's got fucking shorts on. Um, 2006 was a wild ride. Um, After the match, AJ and Daniels have like a bit of a pull apart. Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt come out, and then locker room dad Rhino comes out like that, literally like that dad at the pool that you absolutely would not fuck with. Um, and he comes out and he's basically like talking about him and Christian falling out, and he doesn't want to see that happen. So gets them to shake hands, and AJ's just like,
Nah,
nah. He
fuck
calls
that
Rhino
noise.
Dr. Phil, which made me laugh. This is the start of an AJ Styles heel turn. Um, to
Oh, okay.
basically this leads to Christian starting his own faction called the Christian Coalition.
Right.
Um, which AJ Styles is part of. He gets called the Prince of Phenomenal. It's basically kind of like what Christian's got in AEW now with the patriarchy.
Oh, okay.
AJ Styles is basically Nick Wayne in that situation.
Got you.
Only Christian doesn't adopt him because they're both too similar age. Um, but it's a similar sort of thing where Christian's like the sort of like veteran who's like guiding the younger talent.
Right.
Big fan of the Christian Coalition. But yeah, this is the start of the ball rolling with this. Next we get a little bit of a setup for AMW, America's Most Wanted, versus those bastard Mexicans, LAX. Even though Homicide from New York and is, I believe, Puerto Rican.
Probably.
Conan and Hernandez are, well, to be fair, Conan does carry a Mexican and a Puerto Rican flag. But
yeah,
just,
Homicide was born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's like the second most New York man to ever live behind Eddie Kingston.
His first name's Nelson. So
well, there we go, exactly. Him and Eddie Kingston just like shouting at people. Oh, the dream. Yeah, how familiar are you with America's Most Wanted?
I know James Storm.
You're not familiar with the Wildcat Chris Harris? What if I called him by his real name, Braden Walker?
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
he's the one who not recognize him
because he's about 3 stone lighter than he was when he shown up in WWE, really out of fucking shape and got fired after 3 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah. So that we're about a year away from the best of Braden Walker. But America's Most Wanted were one of the most dominant tag teams in TNA. They were fucking awesome. Just 2 big lads who just threw people around. Also, they're fighting for the pride of the American flag with the assistance of known Canadian Gail Kim, Toronto native Gail Kim, who is also fighting for truth, justice, in the American way, and also the inventor of the Canadian Destroyer, P.T. Williams, who went by the name Maple Leaf Muscle because he's Canadian. Anyway.
Oh God.
So the show.
Don't worry about all of that though.
Yeah. So basically, they just say it doesn't matter what language you speak, the crowd are all going to be chanting USA. And then they show a video package of LAX breaking Chris Harris's wrist and border tossing Gail Kim, which the border toss is a horrifying move.
Right. Yeah. Also, Gail Kim just getting chucked about like a ragdoll, like just taking silly bumps. Like, what's he doing? That's not a nice move for like a big sized person to take. Well,
that's one of the safer ones I've seen.
Jesus Christ. What was it you said earlier on? The border toss has injured more people than you've had beers.
Than I've had beer this year, because I didn't want to put it as an unrealistic figure. Anyway, yeah, and Hernandez border tossed James Storm into a brick wall as well, which is nasty. Yeah, this takes us to the match, which was a bit of a shit show. They didn't really have much chemistry here, I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple of cool spots. There was a bit where James Storm did the Hurricane Rana, which I popped like a motherfucker for. Mm-hmm. Hernandez got lost quite early on going for a border toss, and he had to be in AMW's corner, but he was stood in the wrong corner. So he just kind of walks around the ring with James Storm up, waiting for Chris Harris to tag himself in.
It's a little bit awkward.
A little bit. AMW hit the finish of the death sentence on Hernandez, but Conan distracts the referee. And as Storm's got the pin, Homicide hits James Storm in the back of the head with a blowtorch, and LAX pick up the win.
It was a mess, wasn't it?
It was a bit of a shit show. Yeah.
Which, as you say, like America's Most Wanted, like I've not seen any of their stuff, but to my knowledge, you're a really good tag team. And I've heard that
It,
LAX had like some decent matches, but there just didn't seem to be any chemistry in this at all.
yeah, they didn't have any chemistry. I think Hernandez at this point was still a little bit green. Um,
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's 2024 and he's still a little bit green. Um, and Homicide, you could tell, like, wasn't really comfortable working this kind of a match. Like, bear in mind at the same time, Homicide was on bangers in Ring of Honor,
Oh,
and then
okay.
he's having like this kind of a match with like sort of like shenanigans and shit, and it's just like Homicide's a really fucking good wrestler. Let him fucking just wrestle. Which TNA, to their credit, eventually they do, but we're
Okay.
still quite a ways away from that.
Right.
Um,
I've just had a look. Going back to your earlier point about uh where people are from and stuff like that. So you're saying like Conan, like
mhm.
Mexican and whatnot. Hernandez, real name, Sean
John Hernandez.
Hernandez,
Yeah.
born in Houston, Texas. So again,
Yeah. But to be
I
fair,
mean, it's
Houston,
close to the
Texas,
border at least. It's
yeah, I
Texas.
was gonna say it still has quite a big Mexican community.
Yeah,
So
fair,
chances are
fair,
that
fair.
he's still of Mexican lineage. Like Homicide, as I say, from Puerto Rican hip lineage, despite the fact being the most Brooklyn man to ever Brooklyn that isn't called Taz. Um
Or Hook.
or Hook. Send him. After the match, Homicide goes to hit the cop killer on Gail Kim. Um, but PT Williams makes the save with a lead pipe. I was very angry PT Williams didn't get to bust out a Canadian destroyer here.
Yeah,
Like
that'd be
having
nice.
seen PT Williams do that in person, it's always a little treat
Ooh.
because he does do it better than anyone. Um, and yeah, they run off LAX. Sadly, Jim Cornette comes out
Yeah. Yeah.
and cuts a big old USA promo and then strips LAX of the titles, which turns them face because
Yeah, the crowd are like,
the
boo,
crowd hate it because they
hate
want to.
it.
Because the thing is, with shit like that, you want to see the heels get the comeuppance. You don't want to just go, all right, well, we're going to punish you by taking your belt off you.
Yeah.
Um, I believe this does lead to something. Can't remember what. Um, not really that
So,
bothered.
question before we move on to the
Yes.
next one, because this is one of
Mhm.
what three title matches on there. One of them being the TNA X Division Championship. This
Yeah.
one, what we've just seen, being for the NWA Tag Team Championships, and the one
Yeah.
after that being for the NWA
Hmm.
World Heavyweight Championship. What was, and to the uninitiated,
Yeah.
uninformed, whatever, what was TNA's relationship with NWA at this point that so many of their belts featured on TNA television?
So when TNA formed, they were formed as NWA TNA, which was essentially they were like an NWA affiliate. Um,
Right.
as they got kind of a bit more like a bit bigger and more like they got a TV deal and stuff like that, they started to kind of drift out a bit more and like again do their own sort of thing and there was less like actual traveling world champion from their NW like for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, which is what is expected of them.
Mm.
So I think it was I believe it was either 2007 or 2008. NWA basically just pulled all like severed all ties with TNA, so TNA ended up having to essentially keep the lineage of their belts with the NWA title, but then they went one way and then NWA went another way. Um,
So when, oh, go on, carry on.
so essentially the all the belts on this are NWA affiliated belts. So it's like the
Even the
NWA
X division.
World, even the X Division is called the NWA TNA X Division Championship. That one knew a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit looser on because obviously it's more of TNA's own thing.
Yeah.
But like the
Whereas the
world
tag and the world, yeah.
yeah, they're actual like NWA lineage belts. Um, kind of like the best sort of example to give is the way like AEW kind of like got the Ring of Honor titles now in AEW.
Right.
Think of that, but if when they started, all they had was like the Ring of Honor belts,
Oh, okay.
like that. Essentially, they were kind of formed as an offshoot of NWA.
Right.
to kind of help with like promotion and things like that. And then
So when did
as
TNA introduce their own belts then? Because at this point, was there a TNA World Championship or not?
no, it was the NWA World Championship. That was their
Right.
world champion. Um, so TNA introduced the world champion when NWA severed ties with them, which was around 2007, 2008.
Oh, okay.
And I believe Christian Cage was the first champion,
Okay.
technically, because he was the champion at the time. Um, and then yeah, it was just a case of them, as I say, having these new belts and going, well, look, we've got new belts and not really explaining it too well because they didn't really want to
Mm.
go into the fact that NWA had severed ties with them.
But they
Um,
had to recognize that whilst it wasn't, and the title wasn't the same name,
it
its
had the same
previous
lineage.
holders were
Yeah,
still on the roster. So it had
yeah,
the lineage, it just wasn't the same belt.
yeah, exactly.
Right. Right. Right.
It, it's
Okay.
it's it's very fucking
It's quite
murky.
muddy.
That
Yeah.
that's like that's it very much in layman's terms.
Mm.
But yeah, so Cornette comes out, strips them of the belts, yada yada yada. Um, and then they AMW hold um hold PT
Petey
Williams
Williams
up,
up with
who
an
has the
American
American
flag.
flag over his shoulders. PT Williams, who was like the fucking crown jewel of Team Canada at one point in TNA,
Fucking hell.
is now, and they keep calling him that hero, the Canadian PT Williams, which is fucking brilliant. Yeah, I just found it very funny that two Canadians were trying to be like American heroes.
Terrible. Terrible.
Next we get a backstage segment with James Mitchell and Abyss. Is this your first kind of like proper exposure to Father James Mitchell?
Oh, I think so. No, I feel like I
He's
saw him on
fucking great.
something not
He
long, like within the last couple of years. Like,
well,
wasn't he still knocking about Impact
he's in
recently?
NWA at the
Oh,
moment.
right.
Remember when NWA did that thing where they nearly lost their TV deal?
Yeah.
He was the guy who was doing it.
Oh,
Where it was him and all like the people doing cocaine at like the table in the crowds.
oh,
Um,
Christ.
yeah. So he's basically like if Abyss is Kane, he's like Paul Bearer. He
Right.
was also in ECW as the Sinister Minister.
That
Um,
sounds familiar.
yeah, he's a fucking great manager. I love James Mitchell.
Mm.
Um, yeah, he cuts a promo saying about how like Sting needs to like embrace the darkness and how like when he was at his most successful, he was like embracing his dark side, obviously referring to WCW. Um,
Hmm.
and that he despises the things that he's now guilty of. And then we get like the promo for Sting and Abyss. So this is the first feud Sting's had since winning the NWA World Title the previous month to Jeff Jarrett from
Was
Jeff
that a
Jarrett.
title versus career match?
That was the main
Yeah.
event of Bound for Glory. So Sting come out with like a new look where he had like sort of a bit more color around like his face paint and he had the different color gear.
Mm.
Um, and it was kind of like a throwback to Surfer Sting, the gear, but the face paint was like a mix of the two.
Mm.
And basically he was like wanting to bring a bit of pride to the title because Jeff Jarrett had like the real reign of terror over the NWA title. Same time that Triple H had his reign of terror, only much,
Right.
much worse. And yeah, so basically Abyss and James Mitchell are trying to get Sting to kind of embrace his dark side.
Mm.
And this match is fucking wild. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't I'd forgotten because the storyline's awful. Like me and you have spoke about it on the podcast.
Hmm.
This is the starting point of the storyline. Um, and because it's so fucking bad, like I forgot how good the actual matches these two had were. Um, this literally is just like a fucking weirdly a no holds barred knockout Drago fight, given the fact that
Yeah. I
happened.
didn't
It,
get this.
so basically, it's like with a lot of world title matches, the referee has the kind of like leniency to let stuff go.
Right.
Um, which is why like what happened happened. So basically Sting attacks Abyss before the bell with the baseball bat, sends him over the top rope. They brawl through the crowd. Um, Eventually Abyss like gets sort of the upper hand, puts two tables next to the stage and puts like a barbed wire board on top of it. Which more on that later. They brawl back to the ring and the referee stops it. Basically whenever they try and put the other man through those tables and the barbed wire, the referee's like, no, no, that's too far. But he is like letting a lot of stuff go.
Yeah.
Um,
Like chair shots.
yeah,
They're fine.
uh,
Not a problem.
thumbtacks.
Thumbtacks. Cool. Baseball bat. Sweet. Barbed wire table.
Yeah. It's cool though because like it's gradually like Sting sort of
Yeah.
embracing the madness a bit more. Like
Mm.
eventually, Abyss gets the thumbtacks out, as we said, after Sting kicks out of the black hole slam, which Abyss's black hole slam still fucking best. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And yeah, Abyss goes for the thumbtack. Sting puts them out, um, and basically gets chokeslammed on them. And they go again, like commentary do a really good job here of kind of like going about how, oh my God, Sting's like fighting with thumbtacks in his back. Who'd have thought they'd see that? Um,
Mm.
Sting then uh, uh, he gets James Mitchell. He gets Abyss in the Scorpion
Yeah.
Deathlock,
And
and
he
Abyss
taps
taps
to put
out,
the refs out.
and the ref's distracted with James Mitchell. So then Sting puts James Mitchell in the Deathlock, and it ends up with Sting and Abyss brawling to the outside. Sting hitting him with a chair, and then like tying him up, hog tying him, and like hanging him upside down, and just swatting him in the face with a chair. um,
That's also fine by the referee. So
yeah,
just yeah.
which again by to kind of keep the parallel with AEW, 5 years 5 years into TNA's run, they did this. AW's 5 year anniversary, Darby Allin got hung up in the middle of the ring, upside down, and super kicked. So yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Um, then Sting basically pulls Abyss down, and he's deciding he's going to throw Abyss through the table. The referee's pleading with him to stop, and then Sting eventually just lariats the fucking soul out of the referee, and the referee says that's enough and disqualifies Sting. Um, which by NWA World Title rules, and TNA rules is a title change. So
That's fucking mental. None of
yeah,
this is made clear at all at the start. If you're a
so
person watching this for the first time, it's fucking nuts.
yeah, it is. It is something with the NWA World Title, but as you say, like it's something that is not very made very clear.
No,
But it's
not at all.
what is quite good with this, I think, is like it's Sting essentially going to that depth, and then
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's what ultimately costs him. But also
Mm,
the fact that Sting has forgotten as well.
yeah.
So
So he
when
looks
he
just as
realizes,
shocked
he's
as I
like,
was.
"Oh fuck, yeah."
Mm.
Um, And yeah, then James Mitchell's like celebrating with Abyss, who's like dying in that barbed wire board, having been chokeslammed off the stage by Sting.
So this
Um,
was Sting's first defense, and he lost it on a
oh,
DQ.
it sure was. Um, but this was the start of a feud that me and you discussed
Mm,
previously when we did Total Nonstop Grantion, um, where eventually Sting would reveal that Abyss killed his dad, went to prison.
sure.
Uh, and then they did the last rights match, which was fucking dreadful, and loads of other stuff. It's also how they ended up getting the belt back on Christian Cage, which was quite cool,
Okay.
at least. So yeah, it was just this was a bit of a wild feud.
It was all right up until the last few minutes, and then it just fell off the tracks.
Yeah, I think if they hadn't have like if the referee hadn't have like kind of let stuff go as much as he did, it would have
Mm,
been all right. But like they could have literally just done the brawling in the crowd and then the table spot
Yeah.
and then the
Didn't need the
DQ.
hog tie or the thumbtacks.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
was still a very
But
fun
yeah.
match.
Yeah.
Both men went absolutely fucking haywire. And that's kind of like this was the first time I think I saw Abyss and went, this guy's fucking really good.
Yeah.
And he has some matches in coming years which are just as fucking insane, if not
Nice.
more. And then that leads us to our main event, which is the dream match of the decade. Um, this was again a match that they built for about 6 weeks.
Mm.
Kurt Angle got announced debuting at what was the pay-per-view before Bound for Glory? I can't remember. But he got announced at the end of a
Mm.
pay-per-view basically that he was coming in. Then he was like the enforcer for Jeff Jarrett and Sting.
Yeah.
Um,
Joe came in and attacked him.
yeah. In the meantime, Kurt Angle's debut on an episode of Impact was him just showing up, headbutting Samoa Joe, and them have this fucking wild brawl, which is one of the coolest fucking debuts I've ever seen. Um,
Yeah.
because they're just having a stare down, and Kurt perked out his fucking mind, just headbutts Joe, busts him open hard way, and Joe pops up as Kurt celebrating and starts murdering him. Um, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, before that match, Joe runs down, attacks Kurt, and they have another brawl. Um, and then we get this match. So Samoa also going into that, Samoa Joe has been undefeated in TNA for 18 months. He has not been pinned or submitted at all. Um, so yeah, that's something to sort of think about.
Considering this only had, as you say, like 5, 6 weeks build, it felt huge. I mean, it main
But
evented the pay-per-view over the world heavyweight title.
the thing was Kurt Angle at the time had been like he was a former multiple time WWE champion. He's at that point he was widely regarded as like the
Hottest
best.
free agent sort of thing.
I wouldn't even say hottest free agent. I'd say the best in the world. Like
Mm.
at this point, like I
Mm.
can't think of anyone I would think at this point in time was better than Kurt Angle.
Who
Um,
was it? Let's have a look. Just while we're on that, PWI 500 2006. Just out of interest, who was knocking about wrestling at this time?
Shawn Michaels, Randy
Here we
Orton,
go. So the
Sawa,
PWI,
Kabashi.
Cena was number one, Kurt Angle number two,
Yeah,
Edge third, Samoa Joe four, Mystico number five, Rey Mysterio number six, Brock Lesnar seven, Kenta Kobayashi number eight, Shawn Michaels number nine, and Jeff Jarrett number 10.
yeah, ain't he great?
Christ.
To be fair, that's bear in mind that's like kayfabe as well. And
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett had been NWA World Champion for a fucking chunk of that year.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, he sure was. So yeah, let's talk about the match because this was
Mm.
like again, this was kind of like advertised as a dream match, and it's funny because now if you advertise something as a dream match, it's like a fucking cardinal sin according to the
Yeah.
internet. Whereas at this point, like everyone was genuinely excited because it was the first time that you were seeing like even the commentators were like because of like the politics around like trying to get these two in a ring, like even this time last year, it
Mm.
would have been bordering on impossible.
Mm.
Um, and then Kurt Angle, obviously, he got offered to, he got basically told by WWE either go to rehab or you're fired. And he went, well, fire me then and fucked off. And then a couple of weeks later, just shown up in TNA. It was like, oh shit. Like wasn't a long time at all.
Say like that non-compete clause stuff was either real short or just didn't exist.
I think, pretty sure he didn't have one.
Mm.
Or there was something, as I say, it wasn't too long from when he left WWE to where
Mm.
he then shown up in Impact. Um, but then also it was like at that point in time, there was a lot of stuff where it was where it was like they didn't really see themselves as having any competition, so they weren't really bothered about
Yeah,
people not showing up for a
yeah.
competitor. Um, Obviously that changed after Kurt and Christian showing up. Um, so yeah, let's talk about the match because Samoa Joe comes out and he's he's just like his entrance in TNA is so fucking good.
Yeah.
And then Kurt Angle makes his first entrance where he's got the fucking Kurt elevator and he's got his fucking awesome music. And he comes down with that eyes like fucking dinner plates. He is perked out of
Youch.
his fucking mind. Um, as soon as they lock up as well, the fans are like white hot, like just this
Yeah,
is awesome chance.
yeah,
Starts off with a lot of like sort of just technical wrestling, a lot of like grappling, both men trying to like lock in holds. Um, Joe eventually like swings Angle into the guardrail and then hits a suicide dive onto Kurt. Um, Slams him into the ring steps and Kurt's pissing blood at this point. Um,
yeah,
and then Joe immediately headbutts the cut. Um,
Joe's like a fucking shark in water, just bang
they
straight on it.
they were knocking lumps out of each other as well in this match.
Yeah,
Angle hits Joe with two Germans. Joe gets out the third, hits a muscle buster, and Angle kicks out. I believe he was the first person to kick out of the muscle buster as well.
yeah. They made
Uh,
a big deal about that on comms.
yeah, Angle hits a big Olympic slam. Joe kicks out of that, which was a fucking common thing at that point in time.
Yeah,
Um, Angle gets an ankle lock on. Joe reverses it into the Kikina clutch, which was awesome because like
yeah, man.
he sort of like bends himself around and then just kicks Kurt's legs out from under him.
Yeah,
And then Angle reverses that into another ankle lock, and Joe breaks the hold. Kurt hits another Olympic slam, followed by another ankle lock. Great blinds the leg. And this is great the way it's shot because Joe's like literally crawling to the rope,
oh, this was so good. His
and
emotion, like the sell of him trying to get to that man, the
he
desperation.
literally he reaches and he realizes he's got nothing left, and just taps out.
Yeah,
Not a very long match. Only went about 13 and a half minutes.
yeah,
Um,
13:35, but fucking hell, what a
but
13 and a half minutes it
it
was.
was it was kind of like the definition of quality over quantity, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
Both guys gave like hell to leather. And then Joe, like the fans are chanting, "You tapped out," and Joe cuts this awesome promo. He's like, "You're damn right, I tapped out. Sometimes you got
Mm,
to realize like there's a better man. But if we get a rematch, I'll beat you." And fans chant one more match. Kurt refused to shake Joe's hand, walks away, and Joe just goes, "Fine, we'll have to do it the hard way." They do the little double turn at the end there.
uh,
Um, this is to set up, which we'll probably end up doing a watch along of a retro review of at some point. The main event of Turning Point, the next pay per view, which is Joe versus Angle 2, um,
yes, then.
which is a much longer but also much better match.
Didn't they
Um,
have an Iron Man match at some point?
they did. They also had a match a few years later, which was a winner takes all match to win every single belt in TNA. So
Wow.
they were the tag champions together. Joe was the X Division champion and Kurt was the world champion.
Fuck, man.
And they basically had a singles match to see who takes all of the belts. And it was fucking wild.
We
Um,
just do a whole that just fucking Joe and Kurt. We'll just do a full
we,
episode on all that
we
shit.
we absolutely could. We
Yeah.
could do a deep dive of the Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe feud because
Fucking love
they
to do
had
that, man.
they they've had in total they've been involved in 82 matches together. Not that's like all over. That's not just
Not
singles matches.
just, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but they're running TNA whenever they like kind of cross paths from that first time to the last time they wrestled in TNA, and then they did have one more match which was in WWE, um, which wasn't sadly wasn't anywhere near as good because it was when
Mm,
Kurt was like close to retiring and
yeah.
it was when Vince was in charge, so they got like fucking 8 minutes or something stupid like that.
Right, right.
But there was always like excitement whenever you'd see these two get together.
Is it
Um,
like that, like their equivalent almost of like Rock and Austin, or like AEW was Swerve and
um,
Hangman, maybe?
To a degree, yeah. I'd say it's, I'd even say it's more kind of, I'm trying to think now. I'd say less Swerve Hangman because it was less like kind of like a blood feud and more, I'd say it was more like Kenny and Osprey,
Okay,
where it was trying to
okay,
basically see who was the better wrestler.
got you. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like Kurt Angle
They're
obviously
both
was like,
just stubborn.
yeah, but also Kurt Angle was like the ace of TNA.
Right.
But he come from like another company, whereas Samoa Joe was like, even though he was a star in Ring of Honor, he become like a household name almost in
Mm,
TNA.
mm.
Um, and it was whenever they cross paths, it was very much like, oh, holy shit, here we go again. Kind of like to that credit, yeah, I suppose, kind of like Rock and Austin. Um, but it was, yeah, they were incapable of having a bad match together, and
Mm.
they, I think this match was like the first time I saw Samoa Joe and kind of got it as well, where I was like, oh, this guy's
Yeah.
really fucking good.
Uh,
Not that I didn't think it before, but like a lot of his run prior to this was Samoa Joe was like in the X division just killing everybody. Like he was X division champion for fucking ages. He lost it in a triple threat. So again, that's why his in undefeated streak was intact.
mhm.
Um, and then he he just fucking murdered people for a while. And then Kurt Angle come along. It was like, okay, here we go. Now he's actually getting a test. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, they
Nah, that
whenever
was such a good match.
yeah,
Really, really enjoyed that.
as I say, there's better ones as well in the catalog, but it's just because it's the first one and it's the first like it's Kurt's first match in TNA. I thought it was worth revisiting this show just for that alone,
Yeah,
and also
yeah,
because
absolutely.
it was a pretty good show in the end. Well,
It was all right. Yeah.
it had ebbs and flows. Um, so what was your favorite match from the show? Do I need to ask, or was it?
Do you need to ask?
Yeah. Well, all right. Other than Kurt and Joe, what was your favorite match from the show?
Christian Cage and AJ Styles.
Okay, that was
Yeah,
very good.
yeah, I enjoyed that. I
I
think
really,
this.
oh
Go on.
God, I was gonna
No,
say
go
I
on.
really enjoyed Sting and Abyss, but also
Yeah.
I I do think that Saban and Daniels had an absolute fucking banger. Like
Mm.
that was an absolute hidden gem on that card where I was like, "Whoa, what's this?" Um,
Little treat.
yeah. What were you gonna say about Christian and AJ?
No, it was about Sting and Abyss.
Oh,
I did enjoy that. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but only because for me the bar was set quite low, given like we've only ever spoken about Abyss being tripe, or at least not him being tripe, but
the,
what he's been
the
involved in.
storyline.
Yeah,
He's Abyss's TNA's Kane. He can have good matches, but he gets fucking awful storylines.
yeah. But no, I I thought it was all right. Do you do like do you do a rating
We do,
like
we do.
overall? All right,
Yeah, just out of 10, what would you give it?
6.5,
I'd
maybe.
also
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
also
six
give
and a
it
half.
6.5. When it
I think
was
if it wasn't for Joe and Angle and maybe Cajun Styles, possibly the Sting and Abyss match, I think Angle and Joe absolutely saved this. Otherwise, it'd have been a flat five, I think.
yeah. I think yeah, I mean, you've got like Christian and AJ was just really solid. It was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um Saban and Daniels was a really good match. Could have gone a little bit longer, I thought, but
Mm-hmm.
and that was the thing that hurt it. There was a lot of stuff that was kind of fillery, and then there was
The
a
stuff that
lot,
needed more room wasn't given more room.
yeah. Like
Mm.
the longest match on the card, I believe, was Sting and Abyss, and then
Uh, it was Christian Cage and AJ Styles, but only
oh really?
by 26
Oh,
seconds.
but
15
then
minutes 56 and 15 minutes 30.
yeah. So they were good because they were given enough time. Um, Daniels and Saban was good because again, it was that was around 10, was it?
13 and a half.
All right, okay, so same
Yeah,
time as Angle and Joe.
yeah.
So Yeah, when the matches were actually given a bit of time to breathe, they were good. Everything else was a bit shit.
Everything else was filler. It
Yeah,
was really what was a 3 match card, maybe four
I'd say four.
out of nine. Four match card out of nine.
Yeah, weirdly there was a lot of kind of bigger names that weren't actually used, even though they were there. Like
Mm.
Rhino, Jarrett wasn't used. He was still
I
knocking
suppose
about
off the
then.
back of him losing the title to Sting,
Yeah,
Sting defending it there, and him having had such a lengthy reign, like it might
yeah,
have been too soon to have him kind of back on there, especially as you say, if it was kind of a reign of terror type thing.
yeah. And Nash was injured. The Dudleys weren't there. So yeah,
Mm.
to be fair, given the fact that it was a bit of a threadbare roster, I think they did quite a good show.
Yeah, yeah,
Also, it's worth noting as well, like the reason that crowd was pretty good, um, for parts was because they're like what become the NXT crowd.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It felt
it's the
very much
same.
like watching it.
Well, yeah, because that was filmed in Universal Studios, Florida.
Yeah, so
NXT's filmed also in Florida.
it was
So
at Full Sail, wasn't it? It's at the
um,
whatever the performance and
oh,
that, but it was Full Sail.
NXT,
Yeah,
yeah. So the performance center is actually like
that's in
not
Florida
that
as well.
far. Yeah, it's not that far away from where this was filmed.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
AW did a few tapings here as well for Dark and Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
uh, not recently, but like a while ago.
Couple of years
It's a
back.
really good venue. It's a
That's
shame it
great.
doesn't get used more.
Nine
Um,
hundred 900 attendance for this, which I think
yeah,
is near enough like the maximum you can get in there. But
yeah.
like when the crowd are hot, like that, it sounds like there's double, triple the amount of people in there.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah,
the
it's
thing is
great.
as well, it's on a sound stage, so it's designed to like
Yeah,
obviously
amplify.
to amplify the noise, but
Yeah,
also like it's in a theme park. What they do is they just like go around the theme park and ask people if you want to go see a wrestling show and give out
it's
tickets.
like holiday camp wrestling over here, like Butlins and stuff. They put in 2, 3 shows a day, just fucking waltz in. Like, yeah, why not sit
Yeah.
and watch this for a few hours?
Whereas
Absolutely.
they do a pay-per-view and then they do like the TV tapings for about 2 months, like the next two
Yeah,
days,
yeah,
and just get all the holiday goers going. You want to see a wrestling show? We've got Jeff Hardy,
quality.
we've got Kurt Angle. They did also tour, like they were saying. Obviously, they went to Detroit
Oh yeah.
for Bound for Glory,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't. At that point, it was largely all there. But yeah, I thought I wasn't expecting a lot from the show. I thought it would have aged like fucking milk, and I was pleasantly surprised by when it was very good. Like when it was good, it was very good.
Mm.
But when it was bad, it was fucking
The
dog shit.
shits.
But yeah, we'll have to do another one. Get another one in the
Yeah, man.
books.
Absolutely.
Um, Let us know what you want to watch us review. Eventually we'll probably get this as a Patreon thing, so get in while it's free. Um, and yeah, anything you want to plug? Anything you got upcoming for us, Troy?
What am I doing? I don't know. I'm filming some shows this weekend. PEW in Stratford on Friday, which will be pretty good. They got a rumble. Everyone loves a rumble.
We all love a rumble.
Resurgence have got an absolutely stacked card on Saturday. We've got the return of Charlie Evans against a man like DeReese, which will be fucking fantastic. And Bullet against Mike Bird, which will be tremendous.
That'll be meaty.
What else you got? And then on Sunday, I'm filming at Pro Wrestling Carnage in Port Talbot in Wales. So that'd be fun. And it's a trip to Wales. So yeah,
Yeah.
a few things coming up. Looking forward to it.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you for joining me, and thank you all for watching or listening. We will see you on the next one. Follow us and all that all nonsense on social media and that. And yeah, bye.
Bye.